he called us all into a meeting 2 days or after the Bristol City game, and he had on the board our fixtures, MK Don fixtures, and Rotherham fixtures, and 2 of them 3 were going to go down. And he said, Rotherham play MK Dons on the last game. If we beat MK Dons, it meant Rotherham had to beat whoever they were playing last game. It was like a really hard away game for them. And he basically spelt out that if you beat MK Dons, you'll be safe. Don't worry about it. Because both teams can't win on the last day. And then he said, we're going to go back to the starting team that we started at the beginning of the season. So it was Linwood right back, me and Jacko, Gaz left back, and then Carl on the left midfield. He said, I've looked through basically he did a stats thing and said, I've looked at all the games that we've won most points with, and these are the players that will play.
So that's how you lined up then in terms of defence. As you say, Tremarco on the left of midfield. The right of midfield, well, there were 3 centre midfielders, McAteer, Harrison and Jennings. So which one of you would have been on the right of that 4, Jeno?
I honestly can't remember off the top of my head, but I'd have probably got the graveyard shift out of them two. I would have thought like Danny and do you know what? I don't know. I don't actually know.
Who
plays up front?
Delroy and Chris Greenacre.
So Del might have played off the right as well for a bit. So he might have won 4-5-1.
Yeah, that was just good shout. He did play the odd game on the right, to be fair, and I think the more natural thing would have been to keep me and Danny in the middle and Jace, would you say? Yeah.
I think that because they had that big Clive pass up front. I think one of the 3 of them screened a little bit because he was good,
Yeah.
But what really struck out though was that if I go through that team again, Sharps came through the academy, Tremarco came through the academy, Harrison came through the academy, Jennings the academy, Linwood the academy, Roberts is obviously local, McAteer is local, and then the bench, all 5 of them were local. Phil Palethorpe, the goalkeeper, and then you had Steve Davis, Dave Raven, Mike Jones, and Ollie James. So you've got 10 players in a squad of 16 who came through the Tranmere Academy. Now, look, not all of them went on to make a long career for themselves at Tranmere. Obviously, Raven was only on loan from Liverpool, but he did start at Tranmere, so I'm going to claim him. Ollie James played 1 or 2 games. Phil Palethorpe, I don't think, played for Tranmere, but a good chunk of them had a good, successful time at Tranmere, and some of them went on to make money. That's incredible, really. If either of you were, I mean, particularly you at Wolves, Sharps, if you were to go into a first team one day and they had 10 players in their squad who'd come through the academy, I mean, you'd be asking for a pay rise, wouldn't you?
Certainly would at this stage, yeah. That's like shows how good Warwick and John McMahon were at bringing players through. It shows the benefit of having a good youth academy. Wolves now, we're trying to get 1 into the first team. I know it's a different level a little bit, but to get 10 players in a squad is outstanding from an academy point of view.
100% echo that, yeah. I think the likes of me and Sharps, he can openly speak what John McMahon done for our careers, Warwick getting us through the door, and I think we've all got our own little stories, excuse me, about Warwick and John, and literally can't speak highly enough. And going back to what Sharp said, that is the benefit of having a youth system and an academy and a constant conveyor belt. To get 10 in is unheard of. I wouldn't have guessed. I don't think I'd have got. I might have got one of them subs if you'd give me a few guesses, Matt. But yeah, the benefit of having a youth system and 10 on the day. Listen, we probably had a few injuries somewhere along the line there to get them on, but that would never happen now.
Well, it wouldn't happen at Tranmere, which is something I want to get onto in a moment or two. But if you look at that side, as you say, it was a conveyor belt. So did it mean you're almost constantly looking over your shoulder at the academy and thinking, who's coming up next behind me?
Yeah, because I remember, I'll be honest, Linwood was coming up behind me in age-wise, and when he wasn't playing, I'm sure he was going knocking on the door saying, "Why aren't I playing?" So it's massive competition for places, and obviously then it allows the club to spend a few more quid in elsewhere to buy a Chris Greenacre, because we weren't the best paid players, because that's what happens to youth players. So it's obviously beneficial for a club to bring through youth players.
How do you feel then, both of you, when you look at Tranmere as they are now, and they don't have an academy? Because Jenno, I know you were working in youth development at Tranmere, what, 5-6 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, well, the year COVID hit, I think I started off helping Parky out and Alan Morgan out and seeing what I could learn off them, and just going in and getting a feel for it every day, and it didn't half help me yet. So the benefit of having a youth team is priceless for me.
It's a crying shame, isn't it, Sharpsy? Because I imagine there's players who've come down as far as clubs that you've been involved in who have been from the Wirral, who haven't got the opportunity here that you both had when you were growing up.
We can't have them because it's out of our radius. But yeah, I think it's a massive shame. It's the heartbeat of your club, isn't it? Really, the players that come through the youth also generally live around there as well. So it's like they know people, they know how it feels to be part of that club and how to support that club. And when it's not there, I think it does take a lot away from it.
It makes a difference, I guess, to the squad as well when you haven't got all those keen youngsters snapping at your heels, or just with that excitedness of trying to get into a first team for the first time. And I'm not saying that the squad gets stale without that, but certainly it must help.
Yeah, it's just numbers, if nothing else. You can get 3 or 4 youth lads into a first team squad. It bulks it up. Or normally, it keeps they're the cheap ones you can get in within the club, and then hopefully you can make money out of them long term.
100%, yeah.
Hopefully it comes back one day in the near future, as and when any takeover of the club happens, because I think a lot of fans would like to see it return. Onto the game then.
Tranmere got an 18s team, or is it just nothing?
Jenno is probably better placed to answer that than me, but it's a college system basically.
Yeah, that's it. Listening to college system, and without going into too much detail, listen to the standard of the college program. You leave school and you some of them have never played football, or some of them have never had a club, so you can only go. Your expectations can't be very high. Do you know what I mean? So listen, the programs are fantastic. By the way, they go on 2-year BTEC courses in football every day with it. Go into good leagues, and some of the leagues are not bad standard, but ultimately when they leave school, some of them have probably never had a club.
Which is mad, because when you'd have both been coming through, there'd have been swathes of players coming over from Liverpool and Everton and elsewhere if they didn't quite make the grade there. And then you'd have had all the other lads who you'd grown up with all the way through the age ranks. And probably every year you were looking at 3 or 4 who were unlucky not to get a YTS or a pro contract, whereas now there's no one knocking on that door.
Yeah, listen, for me, years ago, if you weren't good enough for Everton or Liverpool, or you got let go from them, you went straight across to Tranmere. I mean, I know that's what happened with me, and I've got a young lad now who's he's at an academy, and if the Tranmere's academy there, I guarantee he'd be going there first to take Everton and Liverpool away. Do you know what I mean? I'd walk him over there tomorrow if that was the case, but unfortunately at the minute it isn't. And as you said, Matt, with the new ownership and stuff like that, I think I've spoke to a guy who's a director there, and he said he's going to try, so fingers crossed.